Welcome to Cheating Story Star. I'm Henry, and what I witnessed between my wife and my own brother made me question everything. I thought I knew about them. I stayed silent, watched closely, and waited for the truth. Let's begin. My name is Henry. In the night I learned my wife had been lying to me, I didn't hear a confession. I heard her laugh. It was the kind of laugh I hadn't heard in months. Warm. Careless. Almost intimate. I'd come home early because a meeting had been canceled. The house was quiet except for voices coming from the kitchen. My wife's voice. Then my brother Daniel's. I stopped before entering. Through the narrow gap between the doorway and the wall, I saw Daniel standing behind her. His hand rested lightly against her waist. She didn't move away. Instead, she laughed. Not nervously. Not because she was uncomfortable. She laughed like his touch belonged there. My fingers tightened around the keys in my hand. For a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. Then Daniel leaned closer and whispered something I couldn't hear. She smiled. I stepped backward before either of them noticed me. I didn't confront them. I didn't make a sound. I simply walked outside, sat in my car, and stared through the windshield. My first thought was denial. My second was worse. How long? Because suddenly, every strange moment from the past year had found a place in my mind, and I knew I wasn't imagining things anymore. I waited 20 minutes before going back inside. When I opened the door, my wife Claire was sitting on the couch. Daniel was gone. She looked at me and smiled. That smile almost broke me. Almost. You're home early. I nodded. Meeting ended. She kissed my cheek. I remember the exact moment her lips touched my skin. I remember thinking that the person kissing me knew exactly what she had done, and I hated myself for wondering whether she had kissed Daniel the same way. That night, I said nothing. Instead, I watched. Claire placed her phone face down whenever I entered the room. Daniel suddenly stopped visiting. And whenever his name appeared in conversation, Claire became strangely defensive. Then I found the photograph. It was hidden inside an old box in our bedroom. Claire and Daniel were standing together at a family barbecue. Nothing obvious, nothing anyone could call proof. But written on the back was a date, 6 months earlier, and beneath it 4 words. Wish this was real. The handwriting was Claire's. I stared at those words until they stopped looking like ink. They became a confession, but I still needed the truth. Not suspicion, not anger. Truth. I became very good at pretending everything was normal. That was the first thing betrayal taught me. You can smile while your entire understanding of your life is collapsing. I stopped asking questions. Instead, I started noticing answers. I checked our joint account and found restaurant charges on nights. Claire claimed she had worked late. I reviewed our phone bill. There were repeated calls to a number I didn't recognize. The number belonged to a second phone. Daniel's second phone. My stomach turned. But I refused to confront either of them. Not yet. I wanted certainty. So I started keeping a private record. Dates. Times. Excuses. I photographed documents. I saved messages that accidentally appeared on shared devices. Then one message changed everything. It came from Claire. Henry still believes me. We have to be careful. Daniel replied. He'll never know. I read those words 3 times. Then I locked my phone. I expected rage. Instead, I felt something colder. Relief. Because for months, I had been questioning my own instincts. Now I knew I wasn't crazy. I was being deceived. And the worst part wasn't what they had done. It was how comfortably they had done it while looking me in the eyes. So I waited. Because I wanted the truth to become impossible for them to escape. The final piece arrived unexpectedly. Claire had told me she was pregnant. For 3 days, I said nothing about the dates. I simply calculated. The timeline didn't make sense. Not even close. I quietly arranged a private paternity test. When the results arrived, I opened the envelope alone in my car. I already knew what it would say. Still, seeing the words made something inside me go silent. I wasn't the biological father. I folded the report carefully. Then I drove home. Claire was waiting in the kitchen. She looked happy. That almost made me laugh. I placed the envelope on the table. She stared at it. What is this? You tell me. Her face changed. Only slightly, but I saw it. Fear. Then guilt. Then calculation. She opened the report. Her hands began shaking. I watched her read it. Once, twice. Then she whispered, Henry. I raised one hand. No. The room became silent. I looked directly into her eyes. Whose child is it? She started crying. I didn't, because I had spent months crying inside. She finally said his name. Daniel. My own brother. The truth didn't destroy me. It simply confirmed what I had already buried. I didn't scream. I didn't hit Daniel. I didn't even insult Claire. I did something worse. I showed her the folder. Inside were copies of every message, every photograph, every financial record, every lie. Her face went pale. You knew? I knew enough. She started apologizing. She said it was complicated. She said she felt lonely. She said Daniel had manipulated her. Then she said the sentence I had secretly expected. I still love you. I looked at her for a long time. Love doesn't require this much hiding. Then I placed divorce papers beside the folder. Her hand stopped moving. She stared at them as though they were something alive. You planned this? No. I paused. I prepared for it. That difference mattered to me. Daniel arrived later. I had already sent him a copy of the evidence. He walked through the door expecting another argument. Instead, he found silence. I placed the paternity report in front of him. He couldn't look at me. That was the moment I finally understood revenge. It wasn't hurting someone. It was removing their ability to control your emotions. I walked out without another word. Behind me, they could keep their secrets. But they couldn't keep me. I left the house that night with one suitcase. Not because I had nothing left. Because I finally understood what wasn't worth carrying. For years, I had believed marriage meant trusting someone even when fear whispered otherwise. I was wrong. Trust isn't ignoring your instincts. Trust is knowing someone could hurt you and believing they would choose not to. Claire made her choice. Daniel made his. And I made mine. The divorce was finalized months later. I never asked what happened between them afterward. I didn't need to. Some questions become meaningless once you stop caring about the answers. My family changed. My home changed. Even my reflection looked different. But there was one thing they could never take from me. My ability to walk away. Sometimes I remember that kitchen. Her laughter. His hand against her waist. And the man I was standing there silently breaking. I don't hate that man anymore. He trusted someone. He loved someone. He simply trusted the wrong people. Now, when I think about that night, I don't remember her laugh. I remember the moment I stopped listening to it. That was the night my wife betrayed me, and the night I finally stopped belonging to her.